Okay, so I've just had a video removed because they said it promoted suicide. I don't care. So I'll take it off the live. That if I'm saying that I'm thinking of killing myself, I don't care. I'm genuinely asking people for advice. If I'm thinking of jumping off Beachy Head, I'm asking people for advice. I don't care what they see it as. I put it in the comments section on Facebook. Yeah, I've got alcohol. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't take drugs. This is for everything that has been done to me. Now I've got to repeat myself because... And I'm going to keep it short. I'm just going to keep it to the point then. I did speak about a lot of things. The things that really do frustrate me is that I mentioned a lot of things in the video that just now that just make me wonder about my family. Because someone had suggested that Andy Devine's friend who works for the council, who suggested this woman who thinks that I'm a MK Ultra victim, when the thing that I put in the video about, she said, have you ever met a clone? And I said, because she's a targeted individual who is married to a Freemason. I couldn't hear her on my laptop. But yeah, I have, funnily enough, I've described jokingly the evil Irish dragon matron and her sister, who you call sister, was a clone of her. I actually described her as a clone, jokingly. And I do wonder about a lot of things. As I said, the Freemason that I worked with at the garden centre, who told my mother he'd like to impregnate me, and I was a teenager, because they like virgins, don't they? And they like their satanic rituals. And I've questioned things about my mother. I mean, because you don't have to have parents in the military. It's these things that I put in the video that I'm annoyed with, that I feel I need to repeat them, because whilst I don't have parents in the military, it can still be intergenerational. Like, it could be alcoholism, abuse from parents to children, and so on and so forth. And my mother's experiences with dirty old men, even touching her as a child, and me as well. We were sort of like, I described myself jokingly as being hexed. Again, it's before I knew about all the generational stuff, and the paranormal activity in the family, and the reading of tea leaves and predicting stuff and all that, and the way I was described, and all these things. But it's not just that. What my mother said about her illegal abortion, and the cop that took her under his wing, she'd had an illegal abortion by a male prostitute. And I'm looking at the vulnerability. Even though my very middle class background, my programming has been the way, I'm too afraid to say anything, because which is a typical symptom of programming from the research I've done. Forget about the MK Ultra stuff. Call a spade a spade. I mean, I know about the British MK Ultra. I know that Adamant was a victim of it. His dad was a paedophile at Dolphin Square, and I think he's a Tavistock Institute victim because he grew up in the same area. And I just know a lot about a lot. He wrote to me about his demons. And demons, we know, it's call a spade a spade. Whatever you believe in, it is what it is. It's like the green man thing. I've got those green man things. My partner was right. I have to get rid of that stuff because John Wedgwood showed what a green man is. A green man is used by the Satanists to, they wore it and they hunted boys in woods, stripped them naked and then killed them. Well, they buggered them first before they killed them. But this stuff is a lot more common than us stupid, blind masses realise. But yes, I am extremely suicidal. I shouldn't be blocked. I was arrested. I need to just explain in short because I'm not in a, treat this as a last video, but I did a lot of talking and now that video has been taken down. I just want to put this in short, that Andy Devine, John Alexander Patterson's power of attorney, did for me what my sisters should do. He's like a brother. That's why he told John Patterson he's like a brother. He spoke to me in the police cell. And he did for me what they should have done. This is a message to my I've got to rebadge this video. This is a message to my sisters and my godmother, because they think Andy Devine, John Patterson, well, my godmother, I haven't seen her for some years, and trolls and people, namely my sisters, all this. So I'm just telling them use this video as evidence should anything happen to me. Let's just word it like that. Should anything happen to me, you got it all documented, because Andy said to me that basically I'm already aware of a lot of these things. Like, I know that it's 25 years malfeasance of office for what the police have done to me. And the crimes that have been committed. Hang on a minute. I think I just need to finish what I'm saying. I need to get this off my chest. I've got to get this off my chest. I'm not well. I've had this trauma bonding with my partner. What can be considered as trauma bonding, and yet my godmother, who's never met my partner, it's the same with the psychiatric unit. If they wanted to help me and they said, oh, he's abusing you like other people have said it, why did they do the same? Why did they do what is a hangable offence under Nuremberg trials? Take my phone from me and stop me from calling the police to get my possessions back from Cavendish Place, because these members of the council are also under penalty of perjury, because Councillor Alan Shuttleworth, who I spoke whom I spoke to in front of at the Eastbourne People's Assembly. I spoke out in front of the Eastbourne People's Assembly. As Andy Devine said, it's austerity is bullshit. All these the food banks were set up by the Trussell Trust. Oh God, I'm so tired. But basically, it's like what I'm trying to say is what I'm trying to say is that I've been to so many people. I spoke out at the Eastbourne People's Assembly in front of Councillor Alan Shuttleworth, who is Head of Housing Cabinet for Community. And I had, you remember, I've documented all of this. I'm not going to keep repeating it. But the woman, the Filipino couple that was steroids because of bed bugs, and I had all these broken utilities that I complained about. They put in a fraudulent Section 184 saying I broke them all. And that housing officer now works at Eastbourne at Sainsbury's, and yet the CPS were. This is what Andy Devine said to me in the police cell. Now I know it's 25 years, up to 25 years malfeasance of office for what the police are doing to people, like, you know, this. Anyway, but as he said though, in plain English for you, he's been like a brother on the phone. They are working. The CPS are working with the police and sometimes the corrupt council, because all these members of the council are under penalty of perjury for failing me. You can't. Councillor Alan Shuttleworth can't say, "Oh, teaching's my profession. I don't really know much else. I can't really help you." Yes, you can. You're getting paid a lot of money. This is what I should have said. He looked very, very anxious at the Eastbourne People's Assembly, and they're all in on it. Carol and her disgusting, horrible husband. Those bullies who turned on me, the secretary. And he orchestrated something with those mentally ill people. Every time I spoke out, I was targeted and heckled. When I've mentioned the police brutality, and you know, this woman with autism screaming and shouting at me, and I said, "Oh, you're making it all about yourself." And I turned to the dirty old man who was saying, "Oh, you fancy my partner's friend." And I said, you know, this is an old man who had bullied my partner's friend who suffers with anxiety. That's why I'm disgusted with my partner's friend. And then the people, Leslie from the food bank said to me, "Don't jump off Beachy. If you jump off Beachy Head, I'll tell the coroner you didn't get the help you needed. Didn't think I should see my partner anymore." Yet they fixed it so that Darren, my partner, couldn't visit me on the ward, and I wasn't allowed to go into the council. He had to go in there on my behalf. They were controlling the whole operation. Caroline Ansell's office put him in a caring role, so that, see, I feel like an old lady. I'm physically drained from all of this. But I just want it known that basically I'm going to keep this short because I feel very, very weak. I'm also going to share a video that might help my middle sister if she's interested. I doubt it because she's obviously made up her mind, but my partner's praying for her in Yahweh's name and all of that. See, the thing is, the trauma bonding thing, I don't know. My partner kept calling the police on me. I only had to disagree with him about the Bible to begin with, and then it was disagreements about silly things. He'd call the police, and he kept doing it, and sometimes he'd have me removed, and I'd done nothing wrong. I'd be on the sharp end of police brutality, and I've already had attempted rape and very serious domestic abuse after my mother died by this creep called Joseph Fonderdale. And you can say whatever you like about, because I got something to say about Jen I. Haynes, the solicitor, who has been. I'll come to that. I don't care what people say anymore, because I'm at the end of it. My body just feels really weak. It's all an act. You know, the whole Princess Diana thing. It's like, it's the programming. I can't talk to anyone. All these years of the trauma, and it's just built up and built up and built up. You won't understand unless you know the stuff that people like me know, or if you've been through it. But there's a video I want to share that might help my middle sister. She went on Pop Idol. She's living as a man. If you look at her, well, it didn't feel what's his name from Bucks Fizz, because he's a darling, and that upset her. But some men get a bit. Put it this way, some men who've seen me with her have thought that she was my boyfriend, because she has always made herself look like a man. And the thing is, I can understand why she would be upset about that, but other people have said, well, if she's going to look like that, what does she expect? Shaving the head, wearing men's clothes, you can't have it. I mean, my crumbs, I'm 6 foot tall, and when I went to the Adamant conventions with the big hair, people must have thought I was a drag queen, because they said, is she a bloke? And yet it didn't feel Bucks Fizz, what's his name from Bucks Fizz, when she was dressed like a man. But she really does look like a man, and now she's had the proper full-on thing going on. But this X Factor winner has made a video about the darkness, and the thing is, if you're going to accept, whether you like it or not, these sick bastards are, I know I shouldn't swear because I'm becoming like them, but, you know, it's part of, you know, it's the satanic agenda that's always been there, that's all been pre-planned. It's do as thou wilt, and you know, I've met these victims who are forced to do all sorts with, you know, it's a case of anything goes, the black and the white, the disassociation, black and white Masonic floor. It's doing it with animals, children. Be whatever you want to be, do whatever you want with whatever you want. I'm certainly not, regardless of what the Hebrew Aramaic scriptures that my partner brought me into say, I'm certainly not of this world. And, you know, my sister, I'm sure she would be interested in what this X Factor winner says about the world's oldest religion. It's a 5-hour video. And, yeah, our idols, Adamant, who wrote to me about his demons, it's demonic. I don't know why I'm bothering to say it. I would like the description of this video read. It's a message to my godmother and my sisters and my estranged father, because there's nothing else left for me. But basically, I just want to say that Andy Devine said, think he rang me just now. I've never met him before. He lives in Greece. He's like a brother to do what he's done, to ring me with advice. And what is being done to sorry, I'm slowed down because I just feel so drained. The CPS are working with the police and the councils, taking people's children, people's homes, people's cars, people's possessions. And it's not just happening in the UK, it's happening everywhere in the world. And John Patterson is being disappeared just like me, and they can do it psychologically, they can do it any shape or form. You know who I was in? Supported accommodation under a corrupt social worker landlord who was exploiting vulnerable people for his pension. And it's no different to temporary accommodation in the psychiatric unit. It's all human trafficking. It's all... I was arrested. It wasn't a welfare check in the same way that Scott Franklin Lester arrested me 3 hours after I rang 99 and reported a criminal woman on a tag in my council accommodation, threatening to beat me senseless for no reason. I'm struggling to do anything at a basic level now. On the Targeted Individuals website, UK, are saying sleepless nights can lead to dementia, and I cared for people with dementia whilst being abused by a vile, evil, nasty piece of work. Even one of the nurses on the Amberley ward at Eastbourne Psychiatric Unit, where MK Ultra is rife, because it's institutionalised. It's like the Tavistock Institute. It's deep state Britain. She knew the matron I was talking about. She said, "Oh yes, I heard she could be a bit of a bitch." I was physically sick when I went on to the next care home to do care, and then I was abused by a woman who worked in the scullery, an old woman, and nobody knew about my overdoses. So why did my sisters say to you, Anita, she does this all the time? No, she doesn't, because she'd never even told her mother. In the same way I don't tell people my Facebook and YouTube name. My mother called in sick for me. I'd taken an overdose of fluoxetine. I don't take medication. I've had 25 years of failings. Pharmaceuticals are evil. You've got to do the historical research. You've got to do the research for yourself into everything. You've got your own brain. Think for yourself. Don't buy the lies. I've heard it all. I've seen it all. But, well, I haven't, but generally speaking, obviously. I'm currently in a hotel where I've had serious police brutality before, and my other videos cover this. These are the people who have made me want to kill myself. It's psychological warfare. It's a form of manslaughter. John Patterson said, "Don't kill yourself, because that's what they want. Don't jump off Beachy Head." They've put him in prison. Stephen Rimmer Solicitors is an Eastbourne solicitor firm, and Stephen Rimmer is a Freemason, according to John Patterson, who is now being murdered in the psych unit. I met him in the canteen queue at Eastbourne Psych Unit when Sussex Police were out of their jurisdiction at the Royal Courts of Justice, and he'd gone to Scotland Yard with documents of a satanic nature exposing BBC, NHS baby or donor organ. There's all kinds of rituals and things and murders corruption. It's worldwide. He's an ex-naval fraud investigator, and the Ministry of Defence shoved him in the psych unit. And I got talking to him in the queue because I was very outspoken about the fact that I had contacted a Panorama BBC producer who was making a documentary about psychiatric abuse. And I also text Yasmin Yehudi, and her names are in the credits at the end of Panorama. They never did get a story from me because I had been dragged in there in handcuffs and arrested out of there 4 months later. And I'm sad to say that this particular counsellor was also under penalty of perjury, because he said they couldn't release me with Robin Maxted said they couldn't release me with nowhere to go, and they did, and I've got that recording in one of my videos. But basically, a ward manageress said yes we can, and she threatened me with the police. So there's been a lot of corruption. But let me tell you, John Patterson, Andy Devine said to me on the phone in the cell in the morning of the 27th of July, he said that John Patterson, Stephen Rimmer's solicitor and lawyer stitched him up, which I was kind of already aware of because I've watched a lot of his live streams and picked up a lot. But basically, I'm trying to get this right. If I remember what Andy said rightly, he had received a case number, a serial case number, court reference case number that didn't exist. He received one, and it's meant to come from the court, he said, because the CPS, it's not being done through the CPS. You know, like what I said before, that the CPS are working with the police to take people's children and homes and everything. Well, it's the same sort of thing. Now, this lawyer got him the court case number that didn't exist. It wasn't on the system. So they've all been part of it. Now, he also told me about the legal fiction that John Patterson, I actually got what he was saying a little bit. Bryony McCarthy is the legal fiction. Our birth certificate is the legal fiction. My mother would be very interested in the stuff about the United Tribes, and New Zealand was her favourite country, and she was interested in the Maori. She wanted to settle there, so she'd be interested in all that stuff. I find it a bit too much for my head. But basically, this case number, I've been told, is they've granted me bail. You couldn't make this stuff up. This is for what they did to me up on Beachy Head. They're saying that this has come from the court, this case number. I don't know if Andy Devine can... Where is it? There. Because they're saying that is from the court. Because I never received court papers. And it says PC Austin's name, the legal fiction, so it's not that as Andy said, it needs to be their actual names if they want to make a claim against me. I'm making a counterclaim. I'm the one. I've got 2 photograph albums worth of packets of photographs of bruises that they've done to me, several, including when I was reported missing. And they pulled me out of they dragged me backwards in handcuffs out of the tourist information desk. But I need to tell you about Jenai Haynes, the solicitor, because she has lied, and I would say under penalty of perjury. It's corrupt because And I'll tell you this because I'll tell you in a minute. Now, what happened was the first time that I got to repeat this all again. I don't have the energy. I can understand why I don't drink, smoke, or take drugs. I don't take those evil pharmaceuticals, but they're killing me slowly. The targeted individuals website says, sleep deprivation can lead to dementia. My mother lost her memory briefly, which they said the doctors warned my sisters don't give her any more stress because if it happens again, she could be completely. And thankfully, she remembered because she forgot who she was. It actually happened when she went to South Africa, when she went to meet her parents for the first time. She forgot who she was, and it was very brief but embarrassing. You've got to be so careful with stress. People have been saying to me, you can get cancer. I know, because that's what the social worker landlord said to me in a very sinister way. I might want to check I haven't inherited cancer and that I know too much. They're evil. They're absolutely evil. So what happened was when I first spoke to Andy, because I've only ever sent text messages because I call a spade a spade. I'm concentrating on facts here. I don't know I don't know if I'm a victim of MK Ultra. I'm just saying what people have said and what I feel. But calling a spade, definitely a programming, because something that I've done with people is I don't say anything. I go around doing this Princess Diana thing that people talk about. Oh, you're so like Princess Diana. Oh, you're so lovely. Oh, this, so that. Now, I don't mean that in a big-headed way, but it grates on you when you're inside screaming. And then you talk. Usually, this is a symptom of programming. Someone that you've never met, i.e., Matt Taylor. It was a little bit embarrassing, but the first time I ever spoke to Matt Taylor, it all came out like verbal diarrhea. And sometimes I do that in text, but you can't go around doing this whatever personality you're being, because whatever personality you're feeling at the time, or whatever you feel you need to be, or you just naturally somehow I never pulled off, one thing's for sure, I never pulled off the adamant Amazon sort of kick-ass thing, because people said to me, you're still too nice. This is why these things are being done to me. But if you look at the Saffron Facebook page, Survivors of the Saffron, which I'm a survivor of, I'm a survivor of Eastbourne. There's a stronghold for Freemasonry here, and there's a lot of witchcraft in Lewis, because that South African woman who was a victim of satanic ritual abuse, she said a Freemason from Lewis put her in there. This is why you've got to look at my next video as a message to the people closest to me, anyway. I'm just going to say this. I'm not going to take dangerous pharmaceuticals. I'm doing everything the natural way, which they hate me for. There's a targeted individual. I don't think he's from the UK, but I'm taking the stuff that he's advised. Don't do what the government the RDA thing. They don't want you to get the full benefit of the natural ingredients. Even biblically, even Alan Horvath said this. I've followed a lot of the right people out there, that's for sure. Anyway, I just want to say that the first time I spoke, I don't know if I'm making any sense. I'm just, obviously I'm extremely suicidal, so of course I'm not. But I spoke to Andy in the morning of the 27th, and this sergeant, who I can't remember his name, but he retired at 3 o'clock in the morning the following morning. They were jovial, he told me, calling me Poppet. No wonder he sounded so nice, because he knew he was retiring, unlike the other thugs. So this sergeant was saying to me, we're just a bit concerned about, the first thing I said to him very politely was, look, I know there's a warrant for my arrest, even though it's a fake Masonic satanic thing that they're doing to me, but I just let him know very politely. Oh yeah, well, sweetie Pop, we are. No, sorry, that's what my partner calls me, Poppet. Well, I said I've got to go to I must go and see Jenna Haynes, the solicitor, but I've been leaving messages for the firm. Now this is Cramp and Mullany. This is an Eastbourne firm that has been recommended by it's a recommended firm, Cramp and Mullany, and they charged me £90 for half an hour to say they couldn't help me a few years ago, and then I was put through into this position, and hey suddenly someone's helping me, quote unquote. Now Andy said to me that she will be part of the bar association. She said she's not, even though she's a criminal defence lawyer. Now my doctor's surgery said I need one. She's telling me that you need a doctor, and I've got so many horror stories about how they've blocked me. What the psychiatric unit did to me was a hangable offence under Nuremberg trials. That member of staff, Shani from the crisis team, the counsellors were put under penalty of perjury, and the police, what they've done to me is 25 years malfeasance of office for their crimes against my human and civil rights. I was illegally forcibly injected with I don't know what. I still don't know what they injected me with. And also, I was also coerced into having the PCR test, which have now been proven, thanks to the White Rose UK, it's been proven that they're contaminated. I was illegally forcibly injected under Nuremberg trials, and John Patterson affirmed me as well, because they wouldn't give me my phone to call the police to get my possessions back from a property that had bed bugs and all these other things going on that were blamed on me in a fraudulent Section 184, and the member of the council, Councillor Alan Shuttleworth, was also under penalty of perjury. Head of Housing Cabinet for Community. Oh, I'm just a teacher. No, you have a duty to stop and correct, and listen to the people, because I'm one of your constituents. And Councillor Robin Maxted, the local MPs, all of them complicit. So anyway, since I spoke to... So these two police officers turn up and say they're doing a welfare check, and I said there's another fake warrant for my arrest, like the last one, when 3 hours after I recorded a tenant on a dangerous criminal tenant, a raging alcoholic, on a criminal tag, who threatened to beat me senseless for doing what Sergeant Simmons told me to do, which is record antisocial behaviour. I did that with the dictaphone, and I was arrested. And the 999 call handler said I can hear her bang the door, because she kicked the door, which is what the other nutters did. And I was terrified. And this lovely lady, if she'll excuse me for saying, there was a woman in the street who was attacked by a random drunk woman for trying to help me. She's in pain. She's been in a lot of physical pain because she's got cancer, and I'm not going to say her name. But she came to my aid. She did what the police and the counsellors should have done for me, the vulnerable person. They are doing this to vulnerable people everywhere. The CPS and the police are working together everywhere, not just in the UK, but everywhere. I know I'm repeating myself now. I sound like a broken record. Anyway, as part of my welfare check, I was arrested, just like I was 3 hours sleep deprived after, as a response to the woman criminal nutcase who was threatening to beat me senseless. And I was brought before Brighton Magistrates Court in my pyjamas and dressing gown. Well, I'm saying to you, the same thing happened again. The welfare check was also an arrest. Despite the fact that I had let Jenny Haynes know, Crump and Mullany, that I have been suicidal, that the night before I was meant to see her, I'd had a domestic with my partner. The stress is killing me. Several messages, just like the messages I leave for adult social care, saying I'm feeling suicidal, trying to sound professional at the same time, saying I've had a domestic, saying that this firm has ripped me off of £90 for half an hour's consultation in the past for saying they couldn't help me. I was taken to put in the police cell, and after I spoke to Andy in the cell, and the phone cut out, so I needed to speak to him again to verify details. My partner then at some point rang, and the man in charge of the police cell, the custody that works at the Eastbourne Custody Centre, Police Custody Centre, or is it called the Patrol Centre? No, it's called the actual Custody Centre. He said I'd been so calm at this point. I didn't realise how calming alcohol was because I don't drink. But that might have been partly why. He said, the phone was passed over to me. He said, Bridie, you're not going to believe what I've just heard. Do you know what he's just said? He's described, quote, I overheard his conversation. He said, I heard him say he's referring to my partner. He's as effing barking as she is. He's as fucking barking as she is. And I was fuming at this point. I went into a state of anger, and I said, and I either rang the intercom or spoke to him through the letterbox of the cell door, and I said, my partner has just said and he said to me, I wasn't referring to, he said, look, I've dealt with you in the past. Do you really think that I would be stupid enough to put my he said, I was talking about someone who's been carted off to the psychiatric unit. Not that that makes it any better, because the same has happened to me there. Do you see where I'm going with this? So they really are absolute scumbags there. They are absolute. I have heard, there isn't anything that I haven't heard or anything. I've had cell doors slammed in my face. I've heard other people's horror stories. The woman with bipolar who was told by some absolute bitch, if you don't stop that crying, we'll strip you naked. That was told to me by a lovely lady that I met at the St Wilfrid's Hospice where my mother died during an activity. They did an activity thing where you could do arty things, and we were sharing horror stories. And I said to her, "You're joking," knowing full well that she wasn't. And she said, "My daughter really wanted to." They really are evil. And he's looking all distressed because the people that do this, they've got their mouth masks on. They're already like zombies anyway. Before they've put mouth masks on, they're already zombies. But this was an older man. This was a man who looked like he was in his 50s or 60s. He looked like he was in his 60s. And he said, "Look, I've dealt with you before, Bryony." I just felt like I felt like using language that isn't in my vocabulary, but I didn't, because I don't. And he said, "Well, my partner said he had already been rude to him and had an attitude." One of the sergeants, I can't remember what he said his name was, but he hung up on me. He said, "Oh, I think she's asleep. No, I need to know if she's all right." I've had the incident in question that I'm being tried for, where I was beaten by PC Austin and his colleagues, then thrown to a cell floor, stripped naked. I had the cell doors slammed in my face. I've had it happen before. And this, what was his name? C.S. Bellamy. Well, it's your prerogative. Well, it's your partner's prerogative. I said it's my prerogative as well. They really are absolute bottom of the scrape the toilet bowl scum. I think Crime Bodge is a bit too nice about them. But yes, Sussex Police and Essex Police. I know about what happened to John Patterson's friend, whose farm was taken by Sussex Police his farm was stolen from him to grow and import hardcore illegal drugs and grow them on the farm. Oh, there's so much I could talk about that I've come into the knowledge of, but so there you go. So me and my partner, according to the man who is, oh yes, and at 5 o'clock in the morning, he said to me, he woke me up. Well, it's no wonder I can't. They're saying that, isn't it funny? They didn't want to disturb me with my partner because I might be asleep, when I couldn't sleep in the cell, because as part of being a targeted individual, sleep deprivation, you got lights on, and I was freezing cold in there. Remember your rights whilst being detained. You're supposed to be in a warm cell. Oh, we've refurbished it so we can't dim the lights. So you're freezing cold. You can't put the cover over your head. You can't sleep anyway because you got to sleep. Even with Zopiclone that the doctor gave me, I still can't sleep. This is all part of PTSD. This is part of being a targeted individual. So they don't want to disturb me with my partner, who wants to know if I'm safe and well. And yet I'm asking to ring Andy Devine because he lives in Greece. He's 2 hours ahead. I've never met him. This is a message to my sisters and my godmother. You could have been helping me with this. You could have been there for me. You don't know anything. You know, you rang me out of the blue, said my Iris was concerned about me, that there's a big killer out there, and then 2 months later, oh, she's got cancer, she doesn't want to know. I'd never heard Anita use this language. Life's a bitch and hanging up on me. I don't want to hear about child abuse. I never even mentioned anything about child abuse. You're hearing whatever's been told to you because of what I'm putting on Facebook or YouTube and gossip. Helen Hipperson's mum was at my sister's wedding, and I haven't seen her since I was a child, and then I saw her in that dear god awful accommodation that I wasn't safe in. None of us were, because the nutcases they put in these places. What happened in October up on Beachy Head, I had been for hours on the phone to the local government ombudsman and a social worker, and there was a reference number. I've been complaining about this accommodation, and this was I've spent over £2,000 to stay in the Citrus Hotel. This is the 21st of October last year, and I'd emailed the local MP. She responded to it, and the manageress. And I said that this was a hotel that the DGH hospital had sent me to via adult social care, and this hotel had been in the local papers that homeless people were being sent from everywhere, and Hastings, some of these people are criminals, some of them have not everybody's vulnerable. Look on the Saffron Facebook page. There is a petition from 2015 saying, stop picking on vulnerable people. This is a message to the public servants. Do something about the criminals. PC Franklin Lester threw me out, physically grabbed me and threw me out of the council. And he's the same one who was meant to be investigating this woman who's now in prison, who was on a criminal tag. He was meant to be the investigating officer for her crimes against me, and 3 hours later he arrested me with the fake warrant for what the police did to me when I was trying to keep away from another one of these dangerous accommodations. And I've just been told a few days ago, when I was meant to see Jenai Haynes, the solicitor, that the police who were investigating my partner's domestic the other night, that he's looking for accommodation for me. No, it's not. If Andy Devine had not shared the video about my broken lock and this vile creature from room 3, and the neighbours complaining, and the penalty of perjury that councillor Stephen Holt was under if he doesn't do anything, the day after, the locks were changed. And that's because of what he did sharing my video. That's what I believe. So, for those of you who believe that Andy Devine is a scammer and John Patterson, these people have done the jobs in the same way that I've done the jobs. I don't need a job. I'm on severe disability, and yet I'm doing the jobs of the very people who are supposed to help me. They don't help you because it's about fear and control. That was proved in a 1993 radio interview that Andy Devine shared himself, where a man is saying that basically back in the 1960s he witnessed a talk on how psychiatric units were going to be used for this human trafficking process in the future, and they are. I know, because I'm a victim of it. At the custody centre, you have to be careful what you say, because if you say you're suicidal, you lose your temporary accommodation. That's if they don't like you. If you're a criminal, you'll keep your accommodation. They've made me lose my property. They've bruised me. They've dragged me around. They've done everything to me. And because I didn't say last time that I was there that I was suicidal, because I didn't say it, Sergeant Mackay threw me out. And yet they had arrested me for doing what Sergeant Simmons told me to do, which was to purchase a dictaphone and to record antisocial behaviour. And my mother was fuming that an old man was bullying me and harassing me, an old man who had a learning difficulty, in my supported accommodation. But the support workers found it funny. Whilst my mother was dying of cancer, my soulmate mother and her friends said, "Are they helping you?" No, they're not, because they're in it for their pensions, which is what John Patterson said. And he's exposed everything. And this is exactly what my late mother said. People in this country moan and few do anything. That's why Americans were saying, why don't you all get together? Which is what I have done. I have made some banners saying free John Patterson. We could go down to Chichester and say, let's free John Patterson. But because I'm not well, because of what I'm going through, and not one person has done a thing to help me, not one person, apart from the named few individuals that I'm speaking of. So basically, people, you make your beds, you lie in it. You can't complain if you're not doing anything. I have, and I'm not well, and I'm broken. And I'm bloody pleased with myself. And I'm not going to have anyone to do this new age Buddhist bullshit, leave things in the past, because PTSD, the nature of it, and it's continuous, you can't leave that in the past. It's narcissistic. The manageress of that hotel did not like me saying very politely, and I had a way of saying it so it didn't seem like I was digging at her. But there are some very good doctors out there online who know about this. That covert narcissists that use this passive aggression, because even therapists will use the narcissistic don't live in the past thing. Or let's call it invalidation, passive aggressive covert narcissism that therapists use. Let's move on from the invalidation. We need validation. We need Anyway, I didn't mean to go off on one. I'm just saying that, to my godmother who was saying to me, "Oh, you're living like a child. I've got my own children. I've got my mother's best friend said that they were keeping me away from her." And as for this stuff that you don't want to hear about, these are the people that are helping me. You heard about Sabine McNeil, who's a social worker, whistleblower. She's 75. She got 9 years in prison for exposing child abuse. Our Saviour said those who stand by and do nothing, he said it in his own words, they are complicit in these crimes. He used his own words. I can't remember what they are, obviously, but it's something that Albert Einstein said, and I say it as well. If you say nothing, you're just as complicit if you're silent. So you don't have to be a whistleblower, but if you stay silent and do nothing, you're just as complicit in the crimes. And I know don't talk to me about being an order follower. I know what it's like. And I can tell you this now, there's absolutely no way. There's no way You don't have to follow orders if it's a detriment by law to the person you're dealing with. These people have committed crimes against me, my human rights. So after I spoke to John Patterson and got this verbal abuse, this indirect verbal abuse of, oh, he's just as effing barking as she is, I was then also assaulted by staff at the magistrates' court. Well, at least one anyway, and that was the suite manager, R. Helmsley of Brighton Magistrates' Court. And I've got something to say about Jenny Haynes as well, because she should be professionally embarrassed, because someone on Facebook said, oh, this person, i.e. me, has been saying these things about you. And I found out she said even more that was extremely unprofessional, according to my partner. But anyway, the man who made those comments about me and my partner, it's still just as wrong if he's describing it about someone else. And then they lost my jumper, so I needed to report verbal abuse and lost property. But you can do that when they do all this rubbish of, they just want to get rid of you. Let's get this over. Well, ring 101 and all that rubbish. Ring the people who hang up on you, who don't do anything, who pass you around, who use the phrase "we're going round in circles." Even the local government ombudsman used that phrase with me when I was after the police, during the incident in question in October up on Beachy Head, after they'd beaten me and dragged me out of the pub. Dragged me out of the pub first. I was assaulted by nursing assistants. I had my phone snatched from me while Darren was trying to get Steve from the food bank, who didn't understand what was going on. This phrase of "we're going round in circles" and being hung up on is part of the reverse psychology that they like to use, and the local government ombudsman did it. And even Jenny Haynes did it with my partner the other day after saying I'm not a babysitter. So she's not part of the Bar Association, but she's certainly in the club. We're all in it club. And I noticed some dodgy hand gestures that I won't mention, but she had already said to me and my partner, suggested, despite the fact that she was on my side, that I was acting in self-defence. It was mental health. She was perplexed by how this could be a welfare check, and it went from that to a breach of the peace, and them saying I beat them even though they beat me. And she saw the footage. She saw how they'd grabbed me. There's bruising. There's photographic evidence of bruises. I wasn't running all over Beachy Head, which is what they said. And when they got me in the car, they couldn't wait. The female wrote it down. Right, what she done? What did you get that? Did you get that? I dug my nails in because they were twisting the handcuffs and causing me pain. And yes, I wasn't well. But this is where they don't listen. I'd had my 101 call terminated. I reported a guest threatening to go in my room to drag my things out. The manageress had decided she didn't want me there anymore because I was being too outspoken. A member of staff on the reception had said that the papers had been involved when other people had been sent there and turned away, because a couple of years earlier the same had happened to me when the hospital sent me there, and all I'd done was ask if she could put in a little bit of a word for me, because the local MP was also aware of my circumstances. And she just decided she didn't want me there, and a guest said, if you don't get out of here, I'll drag your stuff out. I called the police, and 101 did what they love to do, which is hang up on me, and I've got a dictaphone full of recordings the same time in this accommodation that I'm in now, it's a repeat of the same circumstances, but in a different temporary accommodation. And the same person, Mike from Hastings Citizens Advice Bureau, saying the same rubbish to me. Will they have mental health issues? No, because as this woman who has cancer and is in pain and was attacked in the street for trying to help me, anyone can say that. That doesn't mean, or by the sounds of it, you're saying it's all right then that if I go into your home and I drunkenly attack you when you try to stop me from stealing your food, call you an effing nutcase when the paramedics turn up, you're saying it's all right because it's to do with mental health. It's all right then. So it's all a little bit backwards, really, isn't it? But we have to stay to the facts when it comes to common law, civil rights and civil liberties, because these crimes that are being committed are very serious. And I let Jenai Haynes know this. And she said, despite the fact she said to me and my partner that she was perplexed and couldn't understand that I was the victim in all of this, she also suggested that I have a probation officer, which really shocked me and my partner, because she said, I've never committed a criminal offence before. I'm the victim. But she suggested it for me to get housing. And yet the police are saying to people in temporary accommodation, because I spoke to one of them, if you say that you are an illegal immigrant and you've come from a war-torn zone, or you say you're from Afghanistan, you've got a whole family, they'll put you up somewhere. I know, because I'm seeing it. I'm hearing about it. One of these awful hotels, I've had serious police brutality in this hotel when my partner and I had a domestic incident. But one of the hotel where I stabbed myself through the arm with a sharp 6-inch knife, I was funding the hotel, went right through. I was due £7,500 to keep myself off the streets because the council had illegally discharged interim duty. I've heard from Dave, Helen Hipperson's Dave, that prostitutes are using that hotel. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've seen and heard a lot. This is not the Victorian sunny Eastbourne town, and the CPS, the council and the council bodies and the police are all working together. And Jenai Haynes, how you could be on my side and suggest that I have a probation officer to get me housing. I said to you, as I've left you all these messages, I've been ripped off of £90 for half an hour to say they couldn't help me. Then it had to come to this where legal aid get involved, and you're telling me, despite the fact that I'm the victim of the brutality. After having my 101 call terminated, my report, I'd already had an apology from the Professional Standards Department for hanging up on me. Then it happens again. Then I'm beaten, and my welfare check becomes an arrest. No, and you even said to me, the system is broken. Andy said you're a part of the Bar Association. You're not, are you? So if Andy was to do the research, would that, is that true? Jenai Haynes of Crampen Mullany, a criminal defence lawyer, you're not from the Bar Association. And you said to me, I feel that something's being orchestrated here, because before I went into the little room that they locked me in, I said, I need to report. This is what I said when they took me in the Serco truck to Brighton Magistrates Court on the 28th of July, the morning after speaking to Andy. I said, I only want to speak to Andy. Who's Andy? Who's Andy? I had to be careful what I said. You're not allowed to speak to anyone unless it's a solicitor. Right, so I can't let a friend or anyone know I'm safe. No, I need my rights. We told you your rights. No, you didn't. There they are there, where you're sitting. You didn't tell me that. It took me into this. I was in this little room, and Jenny Haynes had said to me that Facebook had contacted her, and she can no longer represent me because she's professionally embarrassed. And I said, "Well, I'm not sorry. I can't apologise." She said, "You called me a liar," and I didn't lie, Bryony. I never saw the bruises, and I never said that I would get, thrown out of court and everything. I said, you said you would try, and you seem to be on my defence. I mean, yes, I know what Andy said. Lawyers are liars, and solicitors are prostitutes. But I didn't say that to her. But she, the fact is, she's given misleading. At this point, I didn't know what she'd said to my partner, which is unprofessional, and she should be professionally embarrassed. I'm really disgusted now that I know. She said, and I had already left many messages for Cramp and Mullany to pass on to her, trying very hard not to be too blunt because you're trying to be professional. But she knew my circumstances in my accommodation, which, as I said, was penalty under perjury with the members of the council. But then, of course, they're working with the council and the CPS. It's all Masonic. It's all cover-ups. And she even said the system's broken. She's a part of the corruption. She has lied. She is under penalty of perjury. I had already sent her an email saying about the Queen's Royal Commission, the first in 30 years, and what is, our rights. She looked quite red-faced in front of me and Darren. You're either for me or you're not. But I wasn't there because she knew why, because I was having these problems in my accommodation where I wasn't safe, which was exactly the same circumstances as last year, where they weren't doing anything. So I had left these messages. Oh, you need a doctor. I could be there forever telling her about Dr. Watts, who never rang me back when I said I wanted to jump off Beachy Head, and all these doctors that I kept changing. I can't help you. What they've done to me is a hangable offence under Nuremberg trials in the psychiatric unit. And my partner, who did all the talking for me, the care plan, with Dr. Watts, he said, she's got this care plan. And Dr. Watts said he wasn't interested in, I've spent half an hour with you, because my partner said, let me do all the talking. And that's why I'm thinking, is he gaslighting me? Because people saying he's abusing me. I didn't need a carer. I needed support in the community. It's all BS. Everyone has said the same thing. Did I mention the woman that I met at St Wilfrid's Hospice, who she was threatened with being stripped naked for crying in the police cell? You get talking to these people and they say, oh, St Mary's has got a terrible reputation, they don't do anything. That lovely girl, that quiet girl on the bed opposite me, I've treasured her note. She said they don't do anything. No, I know they don't. Because it is human trafficking, and this is, more and more about the Satanism that's involved. But that sweet girl, I wish I'd... Oh my gosh, why is it that I get talking to the narcissists and bullies? Empaths never talk to empaths. They need to get together. It's like what the White Rose said. You need to get with the like-minded people and come together as one. And stop all this infighting as well amongst truthers. People just need to just concentrate on the facts. Andy is right about that. But anyway, it's taken me so long to say this, but when the solicitor said to me, when Jenna said, I can't represent you anymore, of course I did get a bit upset, and I did start, because of the stress at this point. I'd been so calm, I never put up a fight or anything. I was being polite, just going along with it all, and then had to stand up to get air into my lungs. I wasn't screaming and shouting, I was just raising my voice very loudly. Well, not as loudly as I could. When you lose it, you lose it. When you scream and shout, you scream and shout, but I wasn't. I was just... And this R. Helmsley, the suite manager, opened the door, and instead of trying to calm me down because I was distressed, very reactive, very in my face, this was the manager. This was the manager. This is what I'm trying to say, folks. This is what I'm used to. This is how managers behave now. And he's the one that assaulted me, and he's the one you're meant to make a complaint to. So I was making a complaint about him to him for him to pass on to his, because they all came in like swarm. We got people next down, and if you don't calm down, we're gonna... I'm already in distress. My so-called professionally embarrassed solicitor has hung up. So yes, I hadn't even told her about the verbal abuse of my lost property at the custody centre. No, she thinks I should get a probation officer for a crime that was committed against me. And this is why I said I wanted to speak to Andy, because Andy is telling the truth about helping me with the corrupt system. It's very frightening. They'd shoved me in a little room. I said, you haven't even given me a hot drink. So there I was in distress. I said, all I've done is stand up and raise my voice in distress, and you've come in, you've assaulted me, you've threatened me, you threatened to grab me. You haven't even given me a drink. Then they take me out, and I said, and they shoved me into this room. You've got your hot drink there, my hot drink that was getting cold. And I said, I want to make a complaint about this. He could have done what they did to me at the custody centre a few years ago on one occasion when they nearly took my fingers off. No, that happened twice at the custody centre in Eastbourne. Because, they slammed the doors and the sharp shutter they put down. I once asked for soap because I defecated and I didn't want to touch the food. They go on about the COVID scamdemic. Get this injection that will kill you, and yet when you ask for soap when you're about to eat, you either take this, this bulldog chewing a wasp woman, take this food or slam the shutter down. You could have taken my fingers off. I want your name. She refused to give me her name, and yet the woman who's so full of this Mel, who's had 30 years of experience. Oh, we put priests behind bars. The one who took photographs of my bruises. I've never seen her, or I have seen her face. She's always got the mouth mask on. You forget what they look like because they've got mouth masks on. And yet she said to me one time, after the incident of what happened on Beachy Head, she said, they all think that you're a bit mad. And then the next time I saw her, I wouldn't say something like that. I said, I wouldn't forget something like that. And yet, people are saying Jenny Haynes is a nice person. She's nice, she is. Mel's a nice person. She's a nice person. Really? What is nice? Just like our Saviour said, what is good? Well, you Freemasons, you are taught the most ancient satanic religion in the world. Good is evil, evil is good. Black and white, white's black, disassociation. It's whatever you want it to be. Good is whatever you want it to be. You are sick. Very, very sick. And how dare you, Jenai? How dare you say to my partner, I'm not a babysitter. You are professionally embarrassed. Wait till you get a review from me. Wait till you get a review from me. I was telling you in the police cell, I'd left voice messages saying I felt suicidal. I'm endlessly suicidal because of what has been done to me. I was suicidal before what was done to me. I've got trauma in my family. Who was it who said with the little yellow book in court? While I was my partner was there when this representative said I have mental frailty. I've lost my mother to cancer. I've been sleeping in a field near my mother's ashes. And Sussex police, those dirty little scumbags, contacted my father that I haven't seen for 25 over... How long has it been? Since I was 12. Yeah, so that's 27. Is that 27 years? 28 years? 27 years I haven't seen him. And he said, is this attention seeking? I'm the glue in my family. He was violent towards my eldest sister and my mother, and I have had the generational abuse from my sisters. And it's ongoing. I don't want to have a child because I don't want to do the same to them. I don't want to become, I'm trying to be like my saviour, and it's bloody hard, it's bloody impossible. But you've pushed me and pushed me and pushed me and pushed me. And you've shown your true colours. So I had to go into the court, a probation officer. I've got to go and find another legal aid solicitor. I am so weak. Anyway, as I said, the same thing John Patterson said they're doing to me, what they did to him. They're trying to disappear me in their own shape and form, I suppose, is what we're driving at. John Patterson, he said that the case number has got to come from the court, because if it's issued by the CPS, it's not official, and it's got to have a wet ink signature. Well, oh look, even says here, how pathetic is this? I certify the above extract to be a true copy. They must think I'm thick. There's no wet ink signature. So that means it's a true copy. No, it isn't. There's no wet ink signature on this. There's no wet ink signature. And I did ask them if it was... I have to say, the woman that was speaking to me, I don't know what position she was in. I think she was part of the CPS. I don't know. She did look a little anxious. You could cut the atmosphere with a knife. The judge wanted to know why no one has ever helped me with my mental health and all of that. Well, you've heard a lot of it before. I could be here forever. But there's no wet ink signature, but they are saying that this case number is issued by the court, because I didn't say Andy Devine or anything. I just said, I need to ask you, is that the case number that was issued by the court? Is that the case reference number through the court? There's no wet ink signature. Is this on the system? It's got to be official. It's got to be issued by the court. I never received court papers they never went to they went to my old address. That was the address I had been trying to keep away from because I didn't feel safe. And then they said there's a warrant for your arrest. So it's I don't know what any of this is. They've set a new court date for the 29th of September at 10 a.m. But I'm struggling with anything. It was apparently my doctor's surgery that said to my partner I need a criminal defence lawyer. But Jenna was saying I should plead guilty to get a lesser sentence. I shouldn't be sentenced. They should be sentenced. 25 years malfeasance of office. And the 101 call handlers terminating my call. The professional standards department just weeks earlier had apologised for already doing that to me. I even had a Beachy Head pub menu dated the 20th of March. They'd told me to sit down, we'll serve you. The welfare check turned into, do you want her here anymore? Right, come on, we'll go get you out of here. They're just trying to it's all corrupt. Dan Saxby from Brighton Housing Trust, have I already covered this? How many times have I said this? I've had to make another video. He said that you could go to the local government ombudsman for compensation because they're doing this to other people, putting people in police cells as homeless. Just that alone. I tried everything and I couldn't get anywhere. And bearing in mind I've been very ill, and the council kept illegally discharging interim duty to me. And one time he rang. This is around the time that I had my face in the paper as a missing person in Eastbourne Herald in June 2018. He rang the out of hours emergency housing and said, I've got a vulnerable woman. If you've got any any accommodation. He explained I was vulnerable. And this was around the same time that I'd been reported missing. And the manager of Eastbourne Borough Council said, no, we're not, we've discharged duty to her illegally. In September of that year, they made it officially illegal. They amended the law stating that even if a person has intentionally made themselves homeless, they have a duty to provide housing. They wouldn't even provide me with a shelter. And Dan Saxby said, at least it's not cold out there, because there was a heat wave. So where did I go? I slept on the edge of Beachy Head, rough, suicidal. Both suicidal and wanting to jump off. Both. I even rang the police one time saying, you just sometimes you get to a point where you think, I don't know what to do. Now, I won't ever do that again. The only reason why I rang the police this time saying I was suicidal in October was a saving face, because they had hung up on me when I reported a guest threatening to take stuff out of the hotel room that I had paid £2,000 for. I'd even changed rooms. The manageress asked me to change rooms because you can claim squatters' rights if you're in one room for a month. I was there for 2 months. I did as she asked me to do, and this is how I was treated. The local MP, all of them complicit. Anyway, I'm putting this out there. So, Andy Devine, it's been like a brother doing what he did. So, there we go. Do what you like.